If you didn't know already, Psycho-Pass takes place in a city run by a system that judges people to see if they're fit for society. This leads to almost always, not all the time, but putting innocents in rehabilitation facilities and even death. And who are responsible for all this? Well, we got a girl where nothing phases her, a girl where everything phases her, and a cross-dressing multi-personality robot. Oh yeah, and you can't forget about Kirito.
ゲームスタートだ。奪われ続けるならもう狂ってしまうよ。終わりのない終わりに僕は息をしなくなって。
Psycho-Pass 2 starts off right where the last season ended. Akane is now lead inspector Division 1 with a new recruit Mika, plus enforcers, which we get to see some new and old faces. Does Psycho-Pass 2 fix the problems that the first season had? Does it take old concepts and make new and exciting things out of them? No. In fact, they take problems from season 1 and mess it up even more, and at the same time add new problems to the mix. One of the things Psycho-Pass Season 1 did right was making the city feel alive by having people on the streets or taking investigators to new and somewhat surprising locations. Psycho-Pass 2 decides that people are not an option and they rip out any sort of life the city used to have. You literally only see about 10 civilians in this whole show and most of them are just victims from the first quarter. The city is completely bland and feels like a ghost town, just for the investigators and Kirito to run around like they're in an amusement park. The pacing of Psycho-Pass 2 is all over the place. The first 4 episodes, the investigators almost do nothing when it comes to investigating, and you can see that the show wants you to understand that the antagonist is really smart and cunning, but all it does is make the inspectors and enforcers feel ignorant, while they just stand around in awe while they kill innocents. This has been a problem in Psycho-Pass, not just for this season, but also the first. All you ever see Sybil do is kill innocents and be evil for its own agendas. You never get why Sybil is really here, and yes, they tell you that Sybil helps society, but they never really show you how it helps. This leads to Akane seeming ignorant in her beliefs when she just blindly follows Sybil despite seeing all the wrong it does throughout the show. They also tried throwing a plot device at us with Akane to try to get us to care about her and see her struggles, but all it did was just crash and burn and really just fell out of place. The one thing the show did do right was the villain, in a sense. The explanation of his background and why he's doing what he does makes a whole lot more sense than what Akane does, and it makes you feel as if you are following the wrong character. But once again, through sheer stupidity, that is Psycho-Pass 2, they tried to throw some psychological bullshit in our face with this antagonist and doesn't follow how the characters acted at all throughout the series up until that moment. We get some other new characters this season like Mika, Togani, and Shu, but yet again they are useless characters and they serve no purpose to the story other than to just be there. Now you're probably wondering, oh, what about Genoza, Kanuzuka, and all those other characters from the first series? Well, don't hold your breath. They all together in terms of dialogue get about 5 minutes throughout the whole series. All they're there for is to show that yeah, these guys are still here kicking. They also tried to add some characters midway through the show, but they didn't have any good introductions and looked very generic, that when they did something substantial or anything at all, I was just confused on who I was watching most of the time. Okay, I'm not going to say that Psycho-Pass 1 had the best looking art and animation out there, but it was pretty decent. Now, Psycho-Pass 2 on the other hand is a whole new story. Backgrounds and different environments are so gray and bland that it doesn't feel like you're in a city, it just feels like you're in a small corner of a map, looking at the same place over and over again. The blood and gore did look pretty decent for the most part, but in some scenes it did seem very choppy. The CGI was just horrible. You could clearly tell in places where they used CGI that it was clearly there. Some instances was mostly vehicles. It looked like the cars that were driving were riding on air and it was just moving across the screen. This even goes for a train scene towards the later part of the series. The whole train scene was just all CGI, and on top of that, there was just bad camera angles that made you stare at a wall or a ceiling for about 15 seconds. The most redeeming part of Psycho-Pass 2 is the sound. The opening is pretty good, but the ending I could listen to over and over again. The utilization of music to add to some intense scenes really did help the show when it was lacking in every other place, and kept me somewhat invested when there was really boring or just bad moments. Psycho-Pass 2 doesn't just ignore the mistakes that the first season had, but adds on to it to make it almost unbearable to watch, and just tries to play dumb to anything that happens in Psycho-Pass 1. Lack of character development and ignorance the characters have at the end of the whole show leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, wondering why you sat through 11 episodes that by the end felt like nothing really happened. You even see Sybil and Akane laughed off together like it was no big deal. Now it is time for the scoring of Psycho-Pass 2. For story I give it a 5.7, characters 4.1, art and animation 5.8, sound a 6.5, and for my personal enjoyment I give it a 5 out of 10, which comes out to a 5.42. If you are wondering what the score is without my enjoyment, it's a 5.5. If you are a die-hard Psycho-Pass fan and just want more Psycho-Pass despite the flaws, then by all means go watch this show. Right now, I'm just hoping that the movie can fix and give me more justice to what makes Psycho-Pass good in the first place. But I recommend that you act as if Psycho-Pass 1 was the true ending to Psycho-Pass and not watch this season. If you're looking for a show that is similar to Psycho-Pass, then I highly recommend Shinsekai Yori. It also has a dystopian future where the top of society tries to control the lower, with a ton of twists and turns throughout the show. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.